Hi everyone, today I'll be looking at how to write invertible counterpoint at the 10th. For additional information on this topic and on invertible counterpoint in general, please see my videos listed below. According to the inversion chart for this type of counterpoint, when inverted, most consonant intervals remain consonant and most dissonant intervals remain dissonant. However, because the 10th, 3rd and 6th invert to a unison, octave and fifth, these intervals cannot be used together as they invert to forbidden consecutives. By relating this information to a scale, we can see what harmonic implications these inversions have. For example, in the key of C major, the 10th inverting to a unison could be used on most degrees to imply either a root position or first inversion triad. Because the leading note supports the diminished triad, however, it should only be used in first inversion unless it contains a 7th. The root notes of the implied first inversion and root position triads are a third apart. For example, the A minor triad's root note is a third below C, and the B diminished triad's root note is a third below D. The 9th inverting to a second implies two 7th chords, each in third inversion. If writing in a modern style, these intervals can imply 7th chords on each degree of the scale. In more traditional styles, however, it is the supertonic, leading note and dominant which will most often support 7th chords, while the subdominant and submediant will do so only occasionally. The tonic and mediant are extremely unlikely to support 7ths. The 9th and 2nd intervals can also form 9-8 and 2-3 suspensions on any degree, provided they are correctly prepared and resolved. The octave inverting to a third can imply two chords in root position, for example the tonic and submediant and the supertonic and leading note. Again, the root notes of these chords are a third apart. The octave inverting to a third also implies first inversion harmony. For example, the first inversion subdominant is implied by this A and C, and the first inversion dominant by this B and D. Again, because diminished triads are typically used in first inversion, use of the root position on the leading note can only occur when a 7th is included. The 7th inverting to a 4th implies a 7th chord in root position and second inversion harmony. The 4th can only be used to imply an allowable second inversion chord, such as a passing or cadential 6/4. The 6th inverting to a 5th implies first inversion and a root position harmony. Once again, the root notes of these triads lie a third apart. For example, this 6th implies the submediant A minor triad, while the 5th implies root position subdominant harmony. The remaining columns are inversions of the first 5 and therefore produce the same harmonic possibilities. Obviously, these intervals can interact in more ways than simply note against note. Combinations of 2, 3 or 4 notes against 1, as well as any other combination available with non-invertible counterpoint, is available here. The only difference being, with invertible counterpoint, all harmonic considerations for each combination of parts must be considered, and all dissonance must be treated accordingly. With care, the dissonant intervals can be incorporated so that bad part writing and forbidden consecutives are avoided. One way to achieve this is to place the dissonance on offbeats, or if used on the beat, treat it as a non-harmony note or suspension. For example, the following 9th is here treated as an accented passing note which moves to a consonant octave, and when inverted, a third. The same 9th can also be treated as a 9-8 suspension, which inverts as a 2-3 suspension. Typically in two-part textures, 9-8 suspensions are rarely used as they resolve to the bare sounding octave. As we'll see, however, with invertible counterpoint at the 10th, because the octave inverts to a third, it is used more frequently than in other types of counterpoint. For clarity, here I'll be using 3 staves to simultaneously show the counterpoint and inversion. When considering single note options to imply tonic E minor harmony, there are only two, a G and B. A doubled E, when inverted, implies submediant C major harmony and is therefore unavailable. Because the G inverts to an octave, the B is probably the most likely choice, as a first inversion tonic chord is produced when inverted. This C implies first inversion submediant harmony and, when inverted, root position subdominant harmony. As we saw with the inversion chart for this type of invertible counterpoint, different harmony will often occur when the parts invert, and as here, often the root notes of these chords will lie a third apart. Here, the implied first inversion dominant seventh chord inverts to a first inversion leading note diminished chord. The root note of the dominant harmony, when inverted, becomes an accented passing note, which moves to the third of leading note diminished harmony. Here, although the chords are different, they both possess a dominant function and therefore still move to tonic harmony in the following bar. When inverted, this tonic harmony is changed from an E minor to a secondary E dominant seventh chord. The addition of an accidental when parts invert is common with this type of counterpoint. The D natural, here used as a passing note, becomes the secondary chord's seventh. The secondary seventh resolves to subdominant A minor harmony. When inverted, however, the subdominant is also changed to a secondary A dominant seventh chord. Again, an accidental is included in the inversion to effect the change of harmony. Here, first inversion supertonic diminished harmony precedes dominant seventh harmony in third inversion. When inverted, however, a subtonic D major triad and root position dominant seventh harmony are implied. Once again, although a change of harmony occurs, the function of these chords remains the same. Here the dominant moves to tonic harmony, and here to submediant harmony. When inverted, this supertonic seventh chord changes from third to first inversion. In both instances, however, it still moves through tonic harmony to either first inversion dominant seventh or first inversion leading note diminished harmony, which in turn resolves here to tonic harmony. In this example, when dissonances are removed, harmonically on each quarter note beat, although thirds and sixths are still present, there is a large number of octave and fifth intervals. Especially in two-part textures using invertible counterpoint at the 10th, there will be a large number of harmonic fifths and octaves forming the contrapuntal framework. As here, thirds and sixths will also be present, but will be less common. As we saw on the inversion chart for this type of counterpoint, the reason for the preponderance of fifths and octaves is they become thirds and sixths when inverted. Because thirds and sixths invert to octaves and fifths, they cannot be used together as forbidden consecutives will result. In this example, when consecutive fifths are present, one is either diminished or augmented and is also separated from the other by a non-harmony and or tied note, and is therefore not problematic. As with the other types of invertible counterpoint, when writing invertible counterpoint at the 10th, each part of the texture must have its own shape and possess a drive towards cadences and phrase ends. All parts must also share figures and motifs. For example, this rhythmic figure is used frequently in both parts, as is this dotted figure. Finally, to avoid creating hidden fifths and octaves, when approaching perfect consonances, remember to use either oblique or contrary motion. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.